Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Impacting Coffee this morning. It is the first Tuesday in May. Oh my gosh, it's May. It's May 3rd. Wow. Um, Lots of things happening in May. It's going to be a very busy month for a lot of folks. So I'm Robert Nelson. I use he, him pronouns. I'm with Pivotal New Mexico. I'm your co-host this morning with my wonderful co-host, Michael Green. How are you this morning, Michael?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Like Robert said, I'm Michael Green. I'm a co-host for Impact and Coffee, and then I also work with the New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association. So if you ever have questions about fresh local food, I'm your guy. But let me tell you a little bit about Impact and Coffee for those of you who haven't been here before. But Impact and Coffee is an open, welcoming conversation to exchange stories and ideas, to foster innovation, to strengthen the nonprofit sector, and to build a community. Typically, when we meet in person, we're meeting at the Albuquerque Community Foundation. So shout out to them for hosting us for so long. And then also a shout out to Lily Marie's for providing coffee when we were meeting in person. Kind of with all that being said, Robert, do you want to tell them about the updates to our format that we have? Thanks to you all for filling out the surveys.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we had a number of responses for the survey, and we were really glad to get some really great feedback from folks. As it stands, though, like we've been meeting 3 times a month for the last 6 years, but it sounded overwhelmingly that a lot of folks would rather do twice a month. So we're going to go ahead and do that starting, I believe, this month. And so we'll do the first and third Tuesdays of every month. So starting today. So the next one will be on the 17th of May, and then we'll work on that as we go forward. If people want more impact in coffee, we'll consider that. But for now, for the sake of the input on our data, we'll go to twice a month and see how that works for now, and kind of go from there. And on top of that, I think we heard overwhelmingly too that people are comfortable being in person or networking in person. So we're working on that for either June or July to see what our capacity is to make that happen, because I know doing in-person events is much different. And if we're thinking about doing hybrid where we have people like checking in on Facebook Live or maybe even YouTube Live or anything like that, we're gonna see how that works. So stick with us, and thanks for all your feedback. And also, it's Gratitude Tuesday, so we love to kick off our mornings with a practice of gratitude. Michael, is there anything that you're grateful for today?
I am thankful for being able to work remotely. I'm back east right now. I'm here for a wedding that's happening next weekend, but I decided to make a trip out of it. And it's nice that I'm able to, still work, but also kind of feel like I'm on vacation a little bit. So I'm very happy for that. So that's what I'm grateful for this Tuesday. And we encourage everybody to introduce themselves in the chat and also write something that you're grateful for, just so we can kind of keep going forward with that positive note and also know who's joining us. But Robert, what are you grateful for today?
I am also grateful for working from home. So yeah, so hopefully, yeah. I made a work/business trip last Thursday to Denver, so it was nice to work on the road in Pueblo, Colorado, in a cafe downtown, and a very sunny kind of Thursday. So yeah, very grateful for remote work. And but yes, as Michael said, if please introduce yourselves in the chat, and share what you're grateful for on this fine Tuesday morning, and starting off with us at Impacting Coffee today. So Michael, do we have any announcements we want to share with folks?
I just kind of wanted to build off of what Robert was saying earlier about our new kind of format. We are looking for a place to host Impacting Coffee. So if your organization or of a location that might be able to host 25 people or so for bi-monthly networking event, please feel free to reach out to us, because we would like to involve everybody in this process. But aside from that, I think we're good to go.
Cool. Then I will pass it to Lisa over at P&M. Lisa, good morning, and thank you so much for being here today. Tell us a little bit about P&M and what we got going on today.
Good morning. Good morning. And just to round things out and give a full spectrum, I'm grateful for the opportunity to work in the office after working from home for a while. I know we all have different preferences of what works for our life, and I'm very happy to be here in my office, though My blurred out black background doesn't probably show you much. I'll work on that later. I do want to say, as we talk about Gratitude Tuesday and things that we are grateful for, I am very grateful to work for an employer that has such a strong commitment to both customers and its community, and in particular, the nonprofit community. And as is relevant today, we have all been working in the nonprofit sector, tied to the nonprofit sector for quite a long time. And it is always good to be hearing about new ideas and encouraging and recognizing those that are coming up with new things and learning how to do things better and getting different perspectives. And I think that's important today as we talk to the Four Bridges group here and to Thomas and Lloyd Gray, and to see what they are focused on and what they are bringing to us. I know that just my little research on Four Bridges tells me that it's very important for them to be able to preserve and maintain culture. And that's something that we haven't always been great about, especially when we talk about needs of the community and trying to fix a particular problem or find solutions for one problem. We sometimes let go of some of the other things. And I think it's really great that what Four Bridges does in terms of maintaining and preserving culture. So I do want to present the large check. I know that's always a fun thing. And yes, it's always a little bit of a pun as well, but ta-da, Thomas and Lloyd, this is the large check. Make sure your screen's really big and you blow it up so it's a really big check. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Thomas and Lloyd so they can tell us a little more about the work that they've been doing.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, everybody. My name is Thomas Gray.
And I'm Lloyd. We're both brothers who work on the Four Bridges farm.
Yes. So Four Bridges Four Bridges Traveling Permaculture Institute is a traveling non-profit organization which focuses on sustainable living and permaculture, of course. And it's a lot of having to do with learning how to rely on resources that you have in your community, and rather than focusing on corporate organizations that sort of are not in local connections. So what I do basically is I'm in control of the YouTube channel for Bridges, and I am the web designer and all of that. So I have to focus on the resources that I need in order to get our videos out there and to get the organization well known, as sort of like this marketing process. And so with that being said, a lot of my description and what I do is uploading conferences and videos that have to do with sustainable living and Four Bridges itself.
And thanks to the grant from PNM, I can start focusing on more of what I want to do in my life, but also incorporate it into helping out on the farm. So my plans are to become a graphic designer, and with this grant, it would allow me to purchase programs and utilize different mediums that would allow me to create posters or different types of promotions to promote the different types of stuff that are going on the farm.
So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation we have. Okay. So this is a little bit of our qualifications as of right now.
Is the screen shared?
Oh, is my screen being shared?
Not yet.
Let's see.
Give it one more try.
Okay, sorry about that.
Good call, Lloyd.
Okay. Okay. Can everybody see that?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, so this is just a bit of our qualifications, and as of right now, I'm focusing on the web design and YouTube channel for Four Bridges. And currently I'm studying for my film and digital media arts degree for as an associate's at Northern New Mexico College.
And personally, from high school classes and classes at Northern New Mexico College as well, I have experience being taught by professional sketch artists and people who know how to professionally use these programs like Photoshop and different types of 3D animation programs. So I have a bit of experience in that area.
Okay. So my first objective was to create the Four Bridges TV channel, which was a challenge in itself because we had all these DVDs from past conferences starting back from around 2010. So this is still a lot of work and it's still in progress, and I'm barely at like the tip of the iceberg with what we've started here. And this I'm creating an archive so that basically all of the conferences from the past 10 to 12 years have been archived and reviewable to past audiences and people who are potentially just learning about Four Bridges TV. And I provided a link here, so if I could send this to you all, if you would like to check it out, you could have the link right here. So some software and materials that we needed for this project was to order a DVD ripper, and this is a specific driver that is utilized for reading DVD discs and being able to take files from a DVD onto a computer file so that they would be uploadable for YouTube and other streaming services. So we just put together some sort of like budget just to show that how much all this would potentially cost. And a lot of it, like creating the YouTube channel subscription, is free, and we mainly have to focus on budgeting our materials such as cameras and the ripper and software such as Handbrake, which actually converts what the DVD file has into a computer file. So some current projects we have going on is Seeds for Ukraine, and we are collecting seeds to be sent to victims of the war in Ukraine. Would you like to?
Yeah. So projects like this is really important to what I do, because it's sort of my job it would be my job to create sort of a poster or like an invitation for these sort of things. So for the Seeds for Ukraine, it's not really like a set event. So I would have to create a sort of like a placard or like a save the date or something, just saying where you could send the seeds and what's going to go on with them. But the seed saving and the COVID conference and the seed exchange is something that I have to think about in terms of, it is an event, so I have to think of the image that we want to project on this poster. And that's just sort of stuff that I would go through in the projects that I do. And this is one of the posters that I created. This was just a short little project. I am proud of it, but it's just like a little sketch that I did. This is probably 1/10 of the artistry that I can utilize on Photoshop, but this is just an example of the stuff that I can do so you can see. And yeah.
So another project that I want to do for the farm, for Four Bridges, is to create a web series about daily life on the farm. And each episode would focus on something different, as to where, one episode would focus on poultry and ducks and all the other types of poultry we have. And then other series would be focused on the greenhouse and what types of events that go on inside the greenhouse. And so that's a really interesting series that I've been actually developing, and that we're going to be getting this lifted off the ground this summer. And I believe that is it. Oh, there's actually one. one more slide actually. So these are some of the goals that we actually have for Four Bridges at the moment and what we expect to get out of this. And our first objective is to build a sharper image for us as a crew and to reach a wider audience with our media. And what we're really expecting out of this is just to reach a larger amount of people to understand what our mission is here at Four Bridges. And also another thing is Four Bridges TV was created to publish video files of past Four Bridges Traveling Permaculture Institute conferences that's actually wrong. It's spanning from around 2010 to around 2014, 15 was the last one. So I'm going to be focusing on archiving all of those. As to right now, we have about 10 hours worth of footage on the Four Bridges TV YouTube channel. So if anyone is interested in the type of work we're doing there, you could feel free to check that out as well. And that is our presentation. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Thomas and Lloyd. We really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I was just saying, no worries.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, so I had a question. Like, so how did both of y'all get involved in permaculture? Like, what started your interest off in that?
Well, we started out at a very young age for sure. And I think it just dates back to, where we're originally from. And that's the Mohawk Nation. And, at a very young age, we're taught to be able to sustain ourselves through the land and not through relying on companies and everything like that. And, of course, nowadays it's very difficult to do that because you have Walmart and all these companies that go around, and that's where you get most of your food from. And a lot of people nowadays don't really understand the spectrum of what GMOs are and what organic food is, and people get that very mixed up. And genetically modified organisms is something to really learn about when you're looking into what is actually in your food.
Absolutely. How did you get involved with Four Bridges? Like, is the organization itself, like
Four Bridges? Yeah, we go through Daniel Map on that, and then it's just a lot of work. I'd say recently, just about 2 years ago, I really started working for the company.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I just got through Thomas. He brought me with him.
Lloyd and I are like super like partners when it comes to getting stuff done. When it comes to creative ideas, we really bounce back and forth when it comes to getting something done, and it always turns out something complete and concrete.
Cheers.
Besides the projects that you all are working on, what else does Four Bridges do?
Okay, so Four Bridges travels a lot, hence the name Four Bridges Traveling Permaculture Institute. What goes on is, Four Bridges trades students from other countries. Sometimes what they would do is students from New Mexico would travel out to South America, for example, or Bolivia, and we would each spend about 2 weeks, vice versa, in each country, and we would just learn our ways of growing food, because for example, Eastern tribes in New York, to plant seeds they create mounds, and in New Mexico to plant seeds you build dwellings. So there are more holes. So a lot of regions have different ways of planting and ways of sustaining themselves.
That's really interesting. That makes sense. I guess the little well is to catch the water, and the mound is probably to repel the water.
exactly, because you're living in a very hydrated area. So especially in New Mexico, it's drought. So you got to think, how can we catch this water instead of repel it, like you were saying?
Very cool. And then for the project that you're working on, the seeds in Ukraine, do you guys already have contacts in Ukraine, or how did you build that program exactly?
I'm not quite sure how Lorraine is building the project, but basically the idea would just be to collect seeds from all the different farms around around the area, Tsuki Farms, anything like that, and then whatever contact she does have, we would be sending that out. I'm not sure how specifically, if it would be to certain people or if it would be to like a seed bank out there, but that's the plan.
Great. I think that's totally going to help them once everything is over, hopefully. So,
Yeah.
all right. And does the audience have any questions? You can either unmute yourself or type it in the chat. We would love to hear what the audience is thinking. So feel free to join in the conversation.
Someone asked me to drop the YouTube link in the chat, so I'll do that right now.
That's a great idea. We actually had some other Next Gen In recipients that received their award last time, so in mid-April. They're called Little Globe, and they're based out of Santa Fe, and they do a lot of film stuff as well. So I feel like a lot of, I don't know, I feel like a lot of your kind of ideas overlap a little bit on the, like how you were saying, the TV program that you're creating, and they also have something similar. So I'll send you their information, their contacts. It could be interesting to see if two of our Next Gen In recipients can build a project together. That'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting to
Definitely.
meet those guys.
And they are based out of Santa Fe too, so they're also up north. So it's not like they're in Albuquerque or southern New Mexico either. So yeah, I'll make sure that you get that information.
I accidentally just sent it to that Robert guy.
I got you, Thomas.
Is that good?
Yeah, gotcha. Right. Oh, nice. Okay.
Cool. So have you seen an increase in permaculture since the pandemic has hit? I mean, I think you said you started maybe 2 years ago with the organization, so it's kind of, you've been in pandemic mode the whole time, really. But
yeah, that's a good question, honestly, because of our situation right now. I haven't really been out of my place for like 2 years, and yeah, unfortunately.
I haven't really noticed increase in permaculture necessarily, but for sure people are starting to realize that they should be, I guess, sort of learning how to take care of themselves more instead of relying on like a higher power, whatever it would be. You know what I mean?
Hi, I have a quick question. Pardon my ignorance. I know that I can Google this, but what's the difference between regular gardening and permaculture? Or is it just gardening? That's what it's called, the culture. I'm sorry. I know this is a very ignorant question. I just don't know the difference.
Okay. So a quick little thing that I can say about permaculture is that the permaculture is basically focusing on, the resources around you and utilizing used materials as something new. And what gardening is basically planting seeds and growing them. But permaculture is a little bit of a step ahead of that, and it's more utilizing the land rather than just using it for what gardening is, which is planting and growing.
Okay, thank you.
If that makes any sense.
do you guys, where are you guys located?
We are located in Espanola, New Mexico.
Oh, okay. So you guys are, do you guys have like in the institute, does it have like a community garden, or is it more like everybody on their own?
Well, actually, anybody in the community can come visit the garden and the farm. We have animals ranging from goats, chickens, turkeys, pigs, ducks, goats, yeah, and a million dogs actually as well. But no, the farm is actually open to anybody as long as it's a weekday. You know, just you can look up Four Bridges Traveling Permaculture Institute and contact Lorraine and just set up a visit whenever anybody wants to.
That's awesome. Just this weekend, I learned of a community garden that is very close to my home, so that's super cool to know that there's synergy. Awesome.
I just included the website in the chat, but there is a question in the chat from Sephora. Isn't permaculture about building the soil and the ecosystem?
I think this link is broken because I tried going onto that link last week, and I agree with Sephora. Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
So what do you do with the fruits and the vegetables once they're ready to be harvested and everything? Do you split them amongst your community members, or do you go to the farmer's market, or what do y'all do with that?
So, for example, our apricot trees. We get a lot of apricots because we have about 5 apricot trees, and they just produce like 100 pounds worth for each tree. So what we do with the apricots is we bring them to farmers markets or donate them to the homeless soup kitchen in Espanola. We also do Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I think just Thanksgiving and Christmas, we just do community meals. So each day on Thanksgiving and Christmas every year, we usually do a turkey dinner for people who are are less or more unfortunate than us. So usually, if someone doesn't have a family, we would invite them over and just have a meal with them. So as goes for like corn and all the seeds we grow and plant, we definitely have seed exchange, but we haven't had that in seed exchange for at least 3 years because of what COVID has done to us. And so that's a little bit more of what we do, seed exchanges, community meals, bring them to the soup kitchen whenever we have too many resources. That's all some of the things that we really do.
Nice. That's great that it's like by the community for the community. So I'm sure that that's very well appreciated out there. So thank you. And you mentioned that it is kind of an exchange, and so some people do get to go to Guatemala or Belize or wherever. Have you two been lucky enough to go anywhere?
I haven't, no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I went to I forgot about that. We went to the Slow Foods conference in Italy, and I guess we weren't really representing our farm too much as this collective that the Four Bridges was like a section of, representing Slow Foods America, and that was pretty fun. Just getting to see what Italy was like and the different foods out there.
That is awesome. That's such a great experience.
Robert Nelson, does that website work?
Yeah, it works for me. But however, so I know the SSL on it doesn't. It says non-secure, so that's probably why you're not. That might be why you're not seeing it on your Mac.
Okay.
It'll pull up a non-secure website. Um, yeah.
And when you click on it too, it also says that it's under construction to check back later. So there's not a ton of information on there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take a look at that. Any more questions?
Do you all have any events coming up or any events that you've done recently?
So we're planning a conference for this year, actually. So we're going to be getting a couple of speakers coming. I'm hoping that we're going to be scheduling it for sometime in October. So, and then usually those happen at Northern New Mexico College, the conferences, the sustainable living conferences. And so I'm going to, if that happens this year, I'm going to be focusing on filming the whole thing, because usually the years before this, we've always had somebody else do it. And so it's going to be a different experience to try and, get that right. And especially for our first conference, it being since COVID, I'm suspecting it's going to be a little bit of trouble, but hopefully it will go smooth.
Sounds like in the chat there's a rule summit happening in Santa Fe on May 12th and 13th. Thanks to Cora for sharing that. So Thomas and Lloyd, is there, this project's gonna build some capacity for your organization. Like, where do you see yourselves in a couple years? Like, what do you plan on doing for yourselves?
In terms of Four Bridges?
Yeah, in terms of Four Bridges, or even just, what might be after Four Bridges.
Okay, well, I hope that these conferences will pick back up, because you'll always learn something from speakers, because they always come from somewhere else, and it's always good to get a perspective on what you're trying to do. So in terms of Four Bridges, I hope that the conferences will pick up, and I hope that, we can build some more coverage on what's going on Four Bridges TV. And in terms of myself, I'm just studying to be a screenwriter, and I've actually got a couple of projects on the way that are picking up, and looking forward to that, because I have to actually attend some conferences for that as well.
And for me, coming up, I hope to, in the future, just learn more about how to work a camera and the filmmaking process, so that I could use that to, learn more about it to help Four Bridges, so that I can use the experience I learned to help me in the job that I want for the future, which is to be a filmmaker as well.
I noticed on the YouTube channel that the conference you put up there, and one of the conference speakers was Winona LaDuke. Did you get a chance to talk to Winona or meet her?
I know we've had dinner with her for sure, but I've never actually had a full-on conversation with her.
Nice.
Yeah, when we met her, we were probably kids, so we were kind of like not really sure who she was, but she was a nice lady for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome that you got a chance to meet her when you were younger.
Yeah. Someone who is on the YouTube channel that I really respect is Percy Smiger, who was targeted by Monsanto for actually being accused of stealing their genetically modified seeds in order to grow more for himself. And he actually won that case, and it's very interesting to hear what he has to say, because genetically modified organisms, the reason why this this happened to him was because there was a crop on the other side of town, and all their pollination had blew over to his crops, and that's what got him stuck. And it's just so interesting to hear stuff like that, like just things that happen in the wind can get you in trouble for no reason.
Yeah, and Monsanto holds a patent on those seeds, whatever that's supposed to mean, which is why that lawsuit occurred. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Their seeds are actually trademarked in order to, make sure that these seeds are, tracked down and located. And when that DNA is transferred over to another crop, then that's when someone else will get in trouble and be accused of stealing.
It's a shame that a corporation can do that.
Yes.
Any other questions from the audience? And you're welcome to unmute yourself or lay down a question in the chat. Thomas and Lloyd, are for yourselves, like, are there any, like, do you like currently with like this year, like, I know we're trying to see ourselves out of COVID this year, cross fingers, but do you guys foresee any like challenges to your work coming up, or any challenges you've had to work through with your projects and helping Four Bridges achieve its mission in the last year or so?
For me, I hope not, just because most of the work that I do should be remote, and I shouldn't have to deal with large groups of people mostly. But once this conference rolls around, that's going to be a challenge, trying to figure out how we make it a safe place for people's health.
Yeah, I know that he mentions that. Yeah, I would say the same thing, because we're planning to kick this conference off in October, and so with that being said, it's really hard to tell what regulations would be like for other states at that time, because we always have speakers coming out from other states, but not only that, from other countries. So we have to be wary about like who we're trying to get to speak, and whether it's worth it or not for the current budget that we put together as well.
What is I'm like trying to think of like questions. I always kind of bring in the back, like, one of the reasons why we're on Zoom this morning is because we haven't, we're still transitioning or adjusting to like the pandemic itself. But could you tell us like a little bit about how Four Bridges adapted to the pandemic in the last couple of years?
Really, I guess it's been kind of tough because the promotion and work that they do on the farm did have to do with bringing people in. So students from schools nearby the farm, students from other states. And so with COVID, we couldn't really do that just because it wasn't healthy. But now people are starting to come back and feel safe. So we've had a group of students from Massachusetts, I believe it was, come in a couple weeks ago, and they had a good time.
And that actually brings up a good question. You mentioned a group from Massachusetts, but who are some of your like local partner agencies up near like Espanola or like in northern New Mexico, and what does that work look like for y'all, like collaborating with our organizations?
Well, especially Amigdio Bayonne is one of our biggest contributors, and he works over at Tasuki Farms.
Oh, nice.
Yes. We do a lot of trading seeds and even transplanting as well. We'll get donations from Tasuki farms of, like 100 chili plants, red chili plants. And
Also, a big contributor is the La Tierra Montessori school that it's about a mile away from the farm. So Lorraine has kids come over and she teaches them how to cultivate, and then in exchange, large groups of kids come over and help her tend to the garden and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that one of the larger projects that keeps going.
That's interesting. So the Montessori school, I think I could be wrong, but do they do work with the Food Depot up in Santa Fe?
that sounds familiar.
I believe they might, but it might go through, if they do, it might go through Moving Arts. I'm not sure about all that.
That's interesting. Okay. The reason I asked is that, so I just heard from Kira Howard over at Food Depot, and they were also one of our Next Gen In awardees a few months ago. And I know they were piloting some food project at a local school. And so I just wondered if y'all, work together or like provide like, obviously, volunteer opportunities for folks getting food, or opportunities for folks to learn more about sustainable food, growing your own food and good stuff.
Yeah, I haven't heard about those guys, but there is another group that's been contacting Lorraine. I'm just not sure what their name is right now, but they were contacting her to use the greenhouse as storage for food boxes. So each box would have different seeds or food from different farms around the state, and they would put them together in boxes that we would store in the greenhouse, and then either we would deliver them or someone else would come pick them up every week, just to use the greenhouse as storage.
Nice. That's awesome. If anyone else has other questions in the audience, please feel free to unmute yourself or drop them in the chat.
I'm excited for the way you guys will be continuing to use your skills that you're going to be gaining with design to be able to tie it in to just being more connected to the things that we produce. So thank you. Keep at it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we could, Michael, do you have any other questions you want to ask, or no? So we'll end with this one. So we always ask this question of our folks, but what is one thing the Impacting Coffee community can do for y'all today? How can we get involved with y'all?
Just share the name, I guess. Just make sure people know about Four Bridges and what we do, because that's basically all what we do it for, just so people know the message and just know what we're trying to do, basically.
Awesome. Thomas, you were thinking really hard when that question came up. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I would say what Lloyd had said as well. It's just we're trying to, create this community based off of the message and the mission is of sustainable living, and what that actually looks like, and especially in the community, because it's a lot of saying, but when it comes down to doing, there's a lot of trial and error that comes in with that. So I would just just getting the message out there, and whatever you guys can do in terms of that much, is just getting the name out there and just the message.
We can certainly do that. Well, I think we can, Michael, I think we can wrap up a little early. I just want to say big thank you to you, Thomas and Lloyd, for joining us this morning on a Tuesday. And
sorry, our presentation was for sure probably shorter than 20 minutes.
You made it. You got to like 9:20. We got it. We even had this conversation at 9:50. So we are all good, guys. I think we typically, what we do with Impact and Coffee is like oftentimes we don't even have like PowerPoint slides. So oftentimes we just work on like questions and having a conversation rather than like, this formal presentation. So I appreciate that y'all went through and gave us a PowerPoint. That's really awesome of y'all to do, but also sticking with us for like, a good half hour, just answering our questions and having a conversation. So for folks in the audience, if you could give Thomas and Lloyd a big virtual round of applause, that would be super helpful. And Thomas and Lloyd, if you could drop your contact information in the chat, that would be really helpful too. So if anyone has any questions for y'all, they can follow up. But other than that, we will make sure that we can spread the word. This video is being recorded. We will post this on our Facebook page, or at least follow up with folks and send this an email, what the YouTube link was. So just so you can have it. And I believe that's it. Michael or Lloyd, do you have any other closing thoughts before we get going this morning?
No, and thank you to Lisa and Keenan Resources Foundation for the Next Gen In money. As you can see, you're making a great impact on the youth around the state. So we really appreciate that. So thank you, Lisa, for being here to present the check. All right. Yeah, so thank you all for joining us today. We'll be back in 2 weeks, so on May 17th. So yeah, please join us in 2 Tuesdays if you are free. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all. Have a really great rest of your week.